Okay. So we have a correlative here, right?
Right. But that's not the most important thing. I mean, that could be. Let's see the first split. Which and a phenomenon. What about that?
So we're talking about the increase. No, the accounting for how.
I'm
Yes,
talking about here the fact that it accounted for half increase.
yes. The, so
So
yes, so the increase is not. Which one is the subject or the noun who is trying to be modified? It's not the
uh,
increase. It's not
I don't
because
think
it's
it's increase. It's accounting for half increase.
okay. Accounted for
So
half.
that whole action, the action of accounting for half increase, it's what we want to modify.
Okay, so that is an action, like you said. So
Yes.
which can't modify?
Which can modify. There you go.
Yes, a phenomenon occurring not just because
Okay,
of,
and now you can apply the correlative.
but
Now we
also.
know we have these two correlatives. Actually, we know the first one. Not only X, but also Y. Basically, we already know that one, right? But there's a cousin. This not only X, but also Y has a cousin that is not just, instead of only not just X, but also Y.
Mhm.
They are, that's also another correlative.
Okay, so in that case, will be letter B.
Easy, right? If we know the correlative, that's easy. B.
Mhm.
Okay. Nice. And now we come over one of the most important parts of the theory and the most difficult ones. The comma ing. Comma ing. This is the theory of the ing as an adverb. Okay. What is the ing as an adverb? Actually, we've mentioned before that the ing could be explanation of how, right? It could also be a consequence and a context. Now, let me give you some examples here. Let me go here to the file of important lists. There we have some examples of ing. No? Let's see this one here, this one. Okay. So the fourth one says the comma ing, that famously known as comma ing, is the adverb. Can you read the first one for me, please?
Sure. Joe went to the store riding his bike.
So, what is riding his bike doing? Is it modifying store? The store is riding his bike?
No.
No, it is modifying the action of going. Now, what is it giving you? What information? A explanation.
How?
How? Answering how. Okay. So that's what commonly this common engine will do. That's actually the most common uh, function. Okay. But then we also have the consequence. Can you read the second one for me, please?
Sure. The TV broke down, leaving everyone bored.
Leaving everyone bored. Okay, that's a consequence. Consequence of what? Of breaking down. Why is it a consequence? Something that happened as a result of something else. Something that happened, first of all, after, and then it was caused by something else. So that's why it's a consequence. And then we have finally the context. Could you read the last one for me, please?
I left her office, having waited for 3 hours.
Now, in order for us to have a context, that's the most infrequent function for the comma ing. In order to have a context, we need to have a having plus a past participle. So, unless you have a have comma having plus a past participle, you wouldn't have a context. And the context basically means that the action here in the modifier happened before the main verb. So first you waited for 3 hours, and then you left her office. You
Okay.
see? So that those are the three. So these are what we know as comma ing. Why? In all these cases, we have a comma. We're going to see later that that comma is not strictly necessary in some cases. Most cases, it will be necessary. It will be mandatory, compulsory. But in some other ones, it won't. Okay? But we know it as a comma ing. So whenever you have a comma ing, that comma basically is telling you that you don't want to modify store, because if you didn't have a comma here, so we didn't have a comma, it would look like it's just an adjective. You see that riding his bike is modifying store. The store riding its bike, and that doesn't make sense. So in order for you to know that they are trying to put here an adverb and not an adjective, they are placing that comma just to signal that they are trying to modify something else.
Okay.
All right. Now, with this adverb, adverbs are a little bit more trickier than the adjectives. Okay. Let me remove this. What happened when we had something like this? Walking home, comma, Joe found a wallet. What is this? An adjective or an adverb?
Walking home, Joe found a wallet. So I think it's an adverb.
Okay. Let's go back here. What did we say here, though? Was it an adverb or an adjective?
Oh yes. Mm.
Whenever you start your sentence with a modifier in the form of ing or edem past participle, then that's not an adverb, that's an adjective. Why? Just because of the position. Okay, just because of the position. If it starts the sentence, then that's going to be an adjective.
Okay.
So here we go here and moving home, Joe find a wallet. That's an adjective, not an adverb. Adjective. So when it's an adjective, the only thing we care about is the noun, right? How is it modifying the noun? So is it okay walking home? Can Joe perform that action? Yes. So that's fine. That's the only verification we do. The only check.
Okay.
Now, what happens when we have something like this? Joe found a wallet, comma, walking home. Is that an adjective or an adverb?
Joe found a wallet walking home. That's an adverb.
That's an adverb because it's a comma ing. You see,
Yes.
just because of position, actually the meaning might be the same, but just because of position, if you have your ing in the middle or at the end of a sentence, it's an adverb. Now, when it's an adverb, the theory tells you it's a little bit more complicated. Why? Because you have to do a double verification. Okay, so they tell you it must agree with both the verb and the subject of that verb. So the first thing we do is, okay, is this walking home telling me something, giving me some information about found? And the answer here is yes, it's giving me explanation, right? So that's good. That's the first thing we have to make sure that works. Number two, is this walking home? And then you have to verify with the subject of that verb. Joe. Can Joe, the sub, perform this action of walking home? Yes. So with the subject, okay. There you know that it's fine. But the difference is that you have to do a double step verification. And that
So
makes it different from the adjective.
the
Okay.
second, the first one, uh, in the second one, I can ask myself, right? And the first one, can you repeat that, please?
What do you mean the first one?
So there are two verification.
All right. The
So,
first verification is with the verb.
okay.
So relationship between the adverb walking home and the verb, in this case, found. And we know it's got to give you one of those meanings, right? Either the explanation of how, or the consequence, or the context. One of
Okay.
those three.
Okay.
And then that's the subject, right? Number two, you have to verify with the subject. That's the thing, okay? That's what makes it a little bit more difficult. Now, there's one exception we're going to see later on, but for the time being, that's fine. So, now we can tell why this one is wrong. Why is that one wrong?
Mm, so the guitar was played by me using all my fingers. Is there answer any question?
Let's do it step by step. Number one, what do you do?
I compare the verbs.
Okay, how do you do that?
Was played.
Was played
Yeah.
using all my fingers.
Who? What? Mm, what do
It's
you use all?
it's answering how it was played.
No, no.
Yes, of course. How
I
was it played? Using the fingers, right? So it is fine. The first one is okay. It answers how.
how was played. Okay. The second one, there is also a type of question I have to ask.
What
Who?
was the
The
second
subject.
step
The subject,
with the
right?
subject, right? And what was the question we asked? Is the subject able to perform that action?
No.
No, right? The guitar cannot use all my fingers, so that's wrong. Okay. So this sentence sounds fine. That's why we got to be careful with the hearing, right? It sounds good, but it's wrong because of that. Okay, the
Okay.
guitar was played with me using my fingers. It's just got something too tacit that we don't like. Nice. So now we go over here, number 13. This you did it partially before. You eliminated the first one, but now we're gonna go and do the whole thing. So
Okay.
let's do it.
Mm, so here we have. I can eliminate the other answer choices, uh, like letter A. So using a Doppler ultrasound device, that's as an adjective, right?
Yes, that's an idea. Very good.
Yeah. As well in letter E and letter C, I think.
Yeah, those are all adjectives.
Yes.
Nice. Those are
Uh,
all adjectives.
so in the first one, the fetal heartbeats can't use a Doppler ultrasound device. So I
Very good. So that's enough for us to kill it off. Nice. Then what?
um, so letter detecting fetal heartbeats. That's okay because the physician can detect fetal
Okay.
heartbeats. Also, using a Doppler ultrasound device, a physician, that's okay too. Mm, by the 12th of pregnancy, can detect by the of pregnancy. So, in this case, which other thing I can look
Comma
for?
engine. There are a couple of. There's a comma engine in this case, for example. You have to value that one.
Oh yes,
Better be.
no, no, I noticed that that's an adverb, right?
That's an average. So is that okay or not?
Well, can be detected. How can be detected? using a Doppler ultrasound device. So the first check is correct.
Nice.
Um, can a fetal heartbeat use a Doppler's ultrasound device? No.
No, there you go. So that's out also. Now let's go here and check this using. What is that using? We know the ing can be for,
Ah, yeah,
okay, have
but
four
there is
different
no
functions.
comma.
There is no comma. Okay, is that comma necessary or no? What do you think? What was a comma, for example, when we had Joe found a wallet, comma, walking home. Why was the comma in there? Why did we say that the comma signaled?
To modify the main
The
class
comma is telling me, you know what? Walking is not trying to modify wallet.
is
Walking is trying to
the
modify
noun.
found, the verb, right?
Yes,
It's
the
not a
verb.
noun modifier. But what happened if you had not a wallet, you said Joe found, comma, walking? Is that comma necessary or not? No,
No,
because
because
in that case, there would be no confusion. Walking would be touching found, and it would be clear that walking is modifying found. You
okay,
see? So the same thing here. You don't have a comma, but you're touching the verb. So there's no confusion. The comma mainly is to differentiate between the noun modifier, the adjective, and the adverb.
okay. Fetal heartbeats can be detected using a Doppler ultrasound device by a physician. I think it's kind of wordy though.
Let's check the adverb though. Check the adverb. Using is an adverb, right?
Yes, yes, it's not.
Okay, how do we check it? The same way you checked it in letter B.
So, can fetal heartbeats use a Doppler ultrasound device? So, how can be detected using a Doppler device? That's okay. But can a fetal heartbeats be can a fetal heartbeats using a Doppler ultrasound device by a physician? By a physician, I think that made it clear that it's the physician who's gonna use it. But I don't.
Okay, so why would it be wrong?
Mm, 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 mm. I'm not sure.
The same way you why did you eliminate letter B? That's exactly the same thing.
Okay, so fetal heartbeat can use a ultrasound device.
That's it, right?
It,
So
it
you have
doesn't
to
matter.
check here. Using a Doppler ultrasound device by the physician, whatever. So can the fetal heartbeat use a Doppler ultrasound device? No.
Okay, but
Can the subject perform that action of using a Doppler device? No.
okay, it doesn't matter. It says by a physician.
No, because it's wrong anyways, right? They're saying that these ones will use. It wouldn't make sense. Using by a physician, how is that?
Okay, okay.
Doesn't make sense, right? Now, between those two, what do we do? That's a little bit trickier
Detecting
to
fetal
see any.
heartbeats by a physician can use a Doppler ultrasound device. So for I can do the 6 steps.
Okay, perfect.
Use detecting
How do
heartbeats.
we do that?
Use a television. Fetal heartbeats can be detected. Detecting heartbeats by the reference physician can use a personal device. Standard device, a physician can detect. I would prefer the letter E, just to
You
check,
for letter E. Okay, very good. But why though? We need to have a reason.
because it looks very similar to letter A.
Okay, that's one reason. That's good. Actually, yeah, that's it. I mean, it's changing the meaning less. I didn't see it's changing the meaning. And if we notice closely, letter C is kind of has a different meaning, right? Because not only different, kind of a nonsensical meaning. Because in letter A, the physician, so the doctor is called the same thing, but doctor uses the Doppler, right?
Yes,
The doctor uses Doppler, and the Doppler detects heartbeats. You see, the doctor doesn't detect the heartbeat directly. The doctor uses the Doppler, and the Doppler is the one that detects. So here, when it detecting fetal heartbeats, the physician doesn't detect it. The one that detects it is a Doppler, and the physician uses a Doppler. You see? So that's the thing. That's why letter C is incorrect and letter E is fine. The
Okay.
decision uses that doubler. Now this one, with this one, we're gonna be a little careful. Okay, we've mentioned before that when you have a comma ing, you have a two-step verification, right? The first one you verify with the verb, right? Comma ing with the verb, and then you verify with the subject of the verb, right? So you ask if the subject is able to perform this action here. Now, that's true. The exception being a consequence that is unintentional, an unintentional consequence. Okay. For example, what is an unintentional consequence? So with an unintentional consequence, you only have one verification to do, which is with the verb. You don't care about the subject anymore. For example, if I say the I don't know the tornado destroyed the city. The city. Come on, the tornado destroyed the city, making it 10 cities destroyed during 2023. Okay. The tornado destroyed the city, comma, making it 10 cities destroyed during 2023. Okay. Now, is making, what is that modifying? Destroyed, right? So making is a consequence? Yes, it's a consequence because you first the tornado destroys, and that action of destruction causes makes it 10 cities destroyed. So it's counting up, summing up, adding up to the counter of the cities that have been destroyed. Is that okay so far?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That's a
But then
consequence.
what? Then what? We cannot, in this case, it's an unintentional consequence. Why? Because the tornado can't perform this action. The tornado didn't intend, didn't have will didn't want to destroy the city. So in this case, we shouldn't go and say, okay, can the tornado make it 10 cities? No, in this case, we can't. If we apply that, that would be wrong. But in this case, this sentence is fine. Okay, even though it does the subject and the modifier don't match because a tornado doesn't make it 10 cities destroyed. Okay, it's so when you have an unintentional consequence, a consequence in which the subject didn't do it voluntarily, let's say, then you don't have to do a verification number two. And you're going to notice that here.
Okay. So, okay. So letter A is correct.
Could be fine. Yeah, it could be fine.
Yes, because it's a
Could be.
consequence of,
It could be a consequence. How many verifications you've done? One or two?
well, just one because you said letter. So number two in this case will be not okay
Why not?
because they're not intent to rise the number
Right,
to like,
the equals are not really doing this intentionally or voluntarily.
yeah.
Very good. Okay, that's it. So that A could be. What's wrong with the other ones? Why are the other ones wrong? That would be the question.
I flew sea eagle delivering swimmer. So we're talking about sea eagles, right?
Seagulls, yeah.
Well, well, some of those answers are in singular.
Okay, very good.
Uh,
So Brinks is out. What else?
uh, it could couldn't refer to eagles because, well, I think they're trying to refer to the number, but the number is not before, and it brought the number.
And the number brings? No, the number doesn't bring, right? The number needs to be an object, not a subject.
No, no, letter
So
D.
letter
Yeah,
D, it brought.
it brought. So letter D.
And the number brought to 34.
No, number can brought.
So it can be number either.
No.
So this it means nothing. This with this they're trying to refer to the whole action.
Okay.
The fact that they left their nests brings, and that's not good because we know we can use it in that way. So that's out. What about the last one?
Broth. Broth. To 34th number was.
Brought.
So that's kind of parallelism. This
It's kind
broth.
of parallelism. Yep. Okay. So let's do the parallelism.
No, there is no other word.
Let's see. So what's wrong with that one?
That there is no parallelism. Yes.
Check it again. Careful.
And broad to 34, the number of was raised could be parallel to that.
How
Race.
are you applying parallelism in this case?
No, I don't think so because there is no coordinate conjunction.
There's no marker. You have to apply
Yes.
parallelism with a marker.
Yes.
Be careful with that.
Let's see
So,
if there.
again, why is E wrong?
Okay, so maybe there is no. See, left is the verb, right?
Okay. So you have a list between left and brought.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's a parallelism. So parallelism is structurally, grammatically okay. But we know we have two, say, phases of parallelism. Structural parallelism and what?
Logic.
Logical. So you have to check the logic between those two. Is brought okay for it to be um, the second what do we call it verb or no?
Left and both. I'm not sure, but I will say no.
Let's see. Lesson number 1. What do we do when we are dealing with verbs? What is it that we have to do immediately? So we have a verb. We
Tense.
have to look for the subject.
Oh
Lesson number
yes.
1. Come on, lesson number 1. So you have a verb. You have to look for the subject, and once you have your subject, what do you do anytime you see a subject and a verb?
They must match in number and logic
Number, logic,
and
and tense.
tense.
That's it.
Yes.
That's a basic. So that's why letter E is wrong. Why?
Because there is no match. There is no subject and both. 234 numbers. So well,
So I mean, here it is easy. If you have a parallelism, verb is left. I'm sorry, is a first verb, and brought is a second verb. So
yes.
whatever is the subject for left will also be the subject for brought. You see?
Mm-hmm.
They share the same subject because that's what being a list means, right? You're gonna have different verbs in a list with different subjects. If you have several verbs in a list, they all have the same subject. So what is the subject of left?
Uh, the seagull left.
All right, the brought with two eagles. Does it mix? Is it okay with number, logic, and tense, or not?
No,
Why not? What's
seagulls
wrong?
can both.
Can bring, right? So the
One can
logic is
bring.
wrong. They don't bring anything. That's supposed to be a consequence, not another action. Okay.
Okay. So,
So yes, it was
Rob,
fine. The first one, yes.
you said that the it in letter D, it doesn't refer to anything specific.
Yeah, it has no reference. Letter D and C, it has no reference. Let's check. If you have it here, it could be summer. It wouldn't make sense. So I'd be wrong. Western Scotland, it wouldn't make sense either. Nest is plural, eagles is plural, so you don't have anything else. There are only two nouns that could be it: Western Scotland or the summer. None of them make sense. So we conclude that makes no sense. I mean, you don't have a reference.
Okay.
Okay, very good, nice. So now let's go here to number 15.
Mm, so it's a consequence.
It's a consequence. Okay, that could be, yes. Could be a consequence.
I think letter A is a correct one.
Okay, good. Let's eliminate the other ones.
Okay. So, well, I think it could be a consequence, but okay, if we can split letter A and B and the other ones. And set free more than 500 slaves. Who? It's okay. Um, there is no need to have a comma before who.
No, depends if you want to make it essential or non-essential, right? But you could go with or without a comma, without a problem. The only one that needs a comma is which.
Okay.
If you want to if you're using it as a relative.
Okay. So the noun or the subject is. I'm not sure about this. I was thinking a lot about this. Is Robert Carter third? Because is
Yes,
yeah. Because
yes.
there is a preposition phrase, right? Prepositional phrase. Because it's in 1791.
Yeah, but the preposition and phrase is this one.
Just that. Okay.
Yes,
So Robert Carter the third is the subject, and
exactly.
the verb is stand.
Yes.
His family, friends, and neighborhood, but by feeling okay. So by is a by
So
five.
setting free is a consequence or explaining how he's stoned?
It's yeah, it's like an explanation.
Explanation, right? Not a consequence. If it were a consequence, it would need to be after his son. So first he's stoned and then he's set free. It wouldn't make sense. It's an explanation on how he's stoned. Now, and set free, that could be okay, but that's a different meaning, right? Because when you say and set free, C, D, and E, they are saying that that's a second action, but it no longer explains the first one. Okay. Then we have an idiom here. The idiom makes it very simple. What is the idiom? The idiom
Consider
of consider.
as yes,
Consider AB
yes,
without as,
yes.
without to be.
Just consider.
So consider as is out, and we stay with two. Okay, having done that, then you say, I mean, these ones are almost the same except for the beginning. Okay, they change the meaning. So what I'm going to stay with, I'm going to stay with the letter A if it makes sense. Does letter A make sense? Yes. So I don't need to change it. So A for us. You
So
see?
is either a consequence or an explanation?
No, it's an explanation. It's not a consequence.
No, I mean
Can be a
that
consequence.
every time I see an ing as a
It could be a
modifier.
context also. When can it be a context? When it's a having plus a past participle. If it's a having plus a past participle, it's a context. Context means that it happens, this action happens before the verb,
Okay,
your
because
modifier.
I
But only
was
when you have having plus a past participle, having gone, having seen, those kind of things. If not, it could only be a consequence or most likely an explanation.
so
The explanation is way more common.
I had learned that every time I saw a ing, it was for a consequence, but it could be also because an explanation or
Most likely will be an explanation, actually.
okay.
It's way more common. The explanation is more common. Consequences, it's not uncommon, but yeah, I mean, let's say for every 5 explanations, you get one consequence. Something like that. Good, good. So here we have number 15.
Sorry, why we eliminated letter D?
That's because it changes the meaning.
This is free.
It's not an explanation anymore. So even though it might be okay, I mean, the other parts are the same as in A, right? So the only difference is that it's a different meaning. It's no longer an explanation. It just gives you a second verb.
Okay.
So letter A is fine. It works. It makes sense. So we go with A. Now, because versus due to. Now, because, well, we already know by this point, we know that because it's a subordinator, right? We have to know that.
Some for the
It's one
nouns.
of the main subordinators with although, while, if. Those are
Yes.
basic subordinators we already know. Now, because is always, and this is born, will always be an adverb. It will never be a adjective. So it will always be modifying verbs or things like that, adverbs or adjectives. It will never modify a noun. While due to, which is a preposition, prepo, is an adjective. It modifies nouns. Okay, so that's the main difference between because and due to, because they kind of both give you causes, right? But that's a huge difference. Because is an adverb, due to is an adjective. Now, because comes into presentations, let's say. Because with a subordinate clause, right? So you have because plus subject plus so plus a clause, right? Clause. And the other clause, right? Because something like that. So because clause, that's a subordinate clause with because, right? That's the first presentation. Let's say that's the best looking presentation. That's what we prefer. Okay. And then you have the other presentation of because, which is a little uglier, but it's fine. It works. But it's just not as good as the first one, which is because plus of plus a noun, and then a clause. So you have those two presentations of because. In both presentations, because the whole phrase with because or the subordinate clause with because is modifying the verb. It's an adverb. Okay. In both cases, because plus clause or because plus of plus noun, it's an adverb. So then we go with due to. Due to is a noun modifier. Okay, so due to, it should follow the verb to be. This should is wrong. It will be it likely, or it most of the time. Let's say most of the time follows the verb to be. Sometimes you say, for example, the cancellation of the game was due
Do.
to snow, right? It follows the verb to be. Why? Because that's normally how adjectives behave, right? Due to, what is due to? Modifying the cancellation of the game. The cancellation was due to snow. So actually, that's just modifying cancellation. And they tell you, always remember that you could replace due to with what? With the word caused by. And sometimes that could be helpful because knowing that due to and caused by are the same thing, we it's easy for us to notice that due to will never be an adverb. It doesn't modify verbs because caused by is a past participle, right? And past participles are always adjectives when they are alone, when they don't have another helping verb. So it's easy for us to notice that due to, because it is the same thing as caused by, is an adverb. I'm sorry, an adjective. It's an adjective. It modifies nouns. Modifies nouns.
Okay.
Okay. Now, how can we? Let's put an example here of how this split will be presented on the GMAT. Something like, for example, because of the new law. And let's say the other one says due to the new law, comma, Joe went to jail. Okay. Because of the new law, Joe went to jail, and due to the new law, Joe went to jail. Which one do you think is good?
Because Vanilla Joe went to jail. Because of.
Why not due to? Why do you
Cause.
dislike due to so much?
Well, I just was looking at the structure. I can say why because of. Cause
I'm sorry?
I can say why I choose because of.
No, you have to say why. You could, but you have to basically why is due to wrong. Sentence correction, remember, elimination, pure elimination. Normally, I mean, tons of the
Okay.
answers, we don't like them,
Okay.
but we just choose them because there's nothing better.
So I can replace it with caused by. Caused by the
Okay,
new.
sure, you're supposed to be able to replace it with caused by.
Caused by the new
And what
law.
would happen if we replace that one with caused by?
Okay, because by the new law, Joe went to jail. That doesn't sound good.
But why is it wrong?
And is not modifier a noun? Well, it's
What do you
modifying
mean?
the new law. Mm,
It's not modifying the new law.
no?
When you have a whole phrase that is an adjective, that whole phrase is a modifier. So when you say, for example, let's retract a little bit here. When we say walking in the park, comma, Joe found a ball. Walking is not modifying in the park. That's not how modifiers work.
Ah, yes,
This whole
yes.
thing is a modifier.
It's an adjective, right?
That whole thing is a modifier. In this case, that modifies Joe. Okay. When we talk about due to, that whole phrase that is being introduced with due to is an adjective. So this whole thing would be an adjective.
Yes, and that
While the other because, what is because, an adjective or an adverb?
not verb.
So that whole because vanilla will be an adverb. So that's a difference. There's a very big difference. Adjectives and adverbs modify different things. So what is because vanilla modifying?
Joe went to jail. The main clause.
No.
No?
Adverbs don't modify clauses. So let's have this straight. This is very, very important. Introduction to modifiers. Verb modifier, adjectives. What do they modify? Verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs.
Mm-hmm.
What do noun modifiers modify? Adjectives modify nouns and
And
pronouns.
pronouns.
Nothing modifies a clause. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes some people say that that's incorrect. Okay, a clause can be modified. I mean, when you modify the verb, it's like you're modifying the whole thing. Yes, but it's not like a clause gets modified. So here we go again to because the new law will modify what the verb, right? What is the verb?
Went.
Went. Okay, so there's a connection between because of the new law and went. What about due to the new law? What is it modifying?
The
Using
new
adjective.
law. The new
So
due to the new law, Joe went to jail. It must. Mm,
this will modify. What is it modifying? Let's remember something very important. What is the main rule for adjectives? It's
uh,
pretty easy.
just modifying nouns, right?
Okay, well, that's the description. Let's say the content definition. What is the main rule for adjectives?
Hmm.
So there's only one big rule:
Touch rule. Okay.
touch rule. So it's fairly easy to see here. What is it modifying? Joe. There's nothing else it's touching. It's a noun. Yeah, it's touching. Yeah. Okay. So they modify different things. So, which one is correct and which one's wrong? They can both be correct. Let's
Mm,
start saying which one is wrong.
which one's wrong? Mm,
What was caused or because of new law? Joe was because of new law or the fact that he went to jail.
not the fact that he went
That's
to
it.
jail.
That's it. So it has to be because. The going to jail, the action of going to jail was because of the new law. Joe wasn't caused by new. Joe wasn't born out of the new law. You see? So
Okay.
even though due to, it sounds good due to also because that's how people talk most of the time. That's incorrect. Okay, because here we don't want to modify Joe, and due to is affecting Joe, and that would be incorrect. We want to talk about went because he of the new law he went to jail. Nice. So that's how we modify here. Let's see. Any questions here?
No.
Perfect. So now we move on to number 16. Let's see.
Mm, okay, so I can because because of and the structure because of I have to have a subject and a verb, then a comma and a main clause. And in letter B, there is no main clause after the comma, I think.
There is a main clause here.
Yes?
There's a main clause.
No,
So we already have a main clause.
no. Oh, well, I was talking about letter B, which is due to an oversupply. That's not supposed to be a main clause.
Why? Let's always ask why. Why is that a main needs to be a main clause?
Because the structure we seen before is like
Let's go back. What are the two structures of because?
because of plus noun, comma, main clause.
Okay, perfect, perfect. But here, can we introduce modifiers here or no? Modifiers get in the way or no? That's the question.
Modifiers get in the way.
So if we say, for
Yes,
example,
yes, there's a
uh,
modifier.
if we say, for example, here, mm, all right, because Joe went to jail, which was in I don't know, in New York. He was sad. Is that wrong? So I don't have a clause after here.
Yeah, he
There's no
was
clause.
sad.
We
He
have a
was
clause,
sad.
right?
Yes,
So these modifiers, especially when they're giving you commas here, what are they telling you with those commas?
it's modifier.
It it's a non-essential
Okay.
modifier. What does it mean to be a non-essential modifier? It doesn't get in the way. Doesn't get in the way. So you can just remove it, and you have a clause. So we need a main clause to the right. Yes, we need a main clause. We have it here. The same way here. All of them have a main clause to the right.
Okay. Well, I will say it's letter E, but I'm having problems eliminating. So
Don't worry.
so
So again, let's go back to due to and because.
so
One
yes.
more example. Because of the traffic and due to the traffic, comma, uh, let's say Mike couldn't make it. Make it. What about that? Because of the traffic, Mike couldn't make it, or due to the traffic, Mike couldn't make it.
So due to the traffic is modifying Mike.
Right.
Um, Mike couldn't make it due to a traffic.
So the important thing is here to understand the difference between because and due to, right? You said due to is modifying Mike. Okay.
Yes.
Because is modifying because of the traffic. What is it
Make
modifying?
make it.
Couldn't make it. Right?
Oh
Couldn't
yes,
make.
couldn't make it.
Okay. So because modifying couldn't make, and due to the traffic, it's modifying Mike. Now, if we say that Mike was due to the traffic, we're saying that Mike was caused by the traffic. Was Mike caused by the traffic?
No.
No. What was caused by the traffic? The fact that he couldn't make it.
Yes.
So because here. Same thing here. Just apply that here between due to and because.
Mm, can I say due to an or caused by an oversupply the manufacturer has announced?
What is it modifying them? That's well, we have to. These are modifiers, so the important
Yes,
thing here is to
due
be able
to
to identify what is the noun that is getting modified,
due,
if it's a noun or a verb.
due to its modifying the manufacturer,
Very good. And what about because? What is because modifying?
or because must be modifying has announced.
Okay, good. There you go. What has been caused by the oversupply? The manufacturer has been caused, or the fact that it has announced something? If we say that the manufacturer was caused by the oversupply, it means that before the oversupply, the manufacturer didn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Being caused means being generated, like being born.
Oh yes.
So in this
So
case, what do we want?
the fact that he
Has announced,
announced,
right?
yeah,
If you want to modify has announced, which ones are you going to eliminate?
due to
Nine. So we do the two are wrong. Good. So then what? We have one big keyword in those three. One big keyword. That is one of the biggest and fastest keywords on the
which,
Gmail. Which? Okay. Are those whiches correct or incorrect?
well, I was looking up for that like before. So because which both have the verb after,
Yep. Which is which result?
and if I can apply a touch rule, right? So which is modifying chips in the first and plunging second one.
Very good. Is plunging a noun?
Have been sent plunging. It's like an adjective, I think.
Right. So can you get modified by which? Which
No,
modifies adjectives?
not
No. So that's
just
just
nouns.
right away out. Very good.
Yes, because of plunging prices for computer chips, the manufacturer has announced. So, well, because of oversupply of computer chip has been prices flying. I think for the meaning, I say the letter A could be the answer.
All right. What's wrong with B though? Always the signal what's wrong with the other ones.
Because of plugin prices for computer is I think could be the
There's
meaning
nothing wrong because maybe just a number of words or something like that, right? But I think there's something wrong here with number 16.
in grammar.
Something pretty easy. Yeah, grammar.
Mm,
Review that which. We have to check the which. You haven't checked it.
which is due to an oversupply, which is modifier computer chips is modifying chips,
Right. The first step for which is what? To verify that it's got the
comma.
commas. Right. In this case, it does. So that's
Yes,
not a problem. Step
but
number two,
the
to
noun,
modify that you have a noun that is getting modified. That noun cannot be a person, right? It cannot be a
a
place if
place.
you're talking about a place, or it cannot be a time either if you're talking about a time. Here, we're not talking about anything like that. It's got to be a noun. And this is a noun. Yes, so far good. You could say it's modifying, you know what, chips, or it might be modifying the whole noun, which is what? Prices for computer chips. So
Okay,
chips is most likely the one getting modified, but also have prices. What is the third step for
verb. There's a verb
the verb, right? Is there a verb or not?
which is
All right, there's and what do we do with that verb? We go and we find lesson number one, right? Lesson number one, we had something called
like
the three-step
prices.
verification. The three-step verification, what do you have? You have number one, number,
Logical, number,
number
logical, and
two, logic,
tense.
and number three, tense. That's the whole process of which. Okay. For example, the number three, letter C, we eliminated because plunging wasn't really a noun. Okay, so we eliminated with step number two, which was, let's say, something very obvious that was wrong there. What now with letter B, we have that is, and we have to check that is. What's the matter with is?
There is no, not because of plunging prices for computer chips.
No, I'm sorry, in B, no, not C. C is
Yeah,
already out. C is a goner.
yeah, better be. So there's because of plunging prices for computer chips. There is ambiguity.
Nope. Let's check this three-step verification. You have the verb is.
Oh, okay. So there is number. There.
Number right away, right?
Yes.
If you have which is, you need something singular to get modified. Here, chips is not singular. Then you go to the other one that is prices, and that's not singular either. So both of them would be incorrect. There's nothing that which could be modified. Okay,
Okay.
nothing that it could be modified. So definitely that's not going to be the answer. And there we go. We go with A because of that. Remember, sense correction always about elimination. Eliminating is crucial. Crucial.
Okay.
Okay. Why? Because it's going to help us get our answers with total certainty. Right? So it's important for us when we take our simulations not to go like, oh, most likely D, most likely C, because if you say most likely, that's just gonna you're not sure if you got or didn't get the right answer. And that way you won't be able to do too many skips. Okay,
Okay.
skipping is a huge part of the simulations because sometimes you won't be able to do it on time. So you need to be able to skip questions after you are totally 100% sure that you've gotten, let's say, a couple of good answers, then you skip one. Okay. But you're only going to be sure if you can eliminate the other four with total certainty. So that's why we are looking for to eliminate four and to stick with the fifth one, even though we don't like it. I mean, we don't have to like letter A. As long as we don't find anything wrong, that's fine. Okay, it's not
Okay.
about liking. It's going to be different when we go to critical reasoning. In critical reasoning, we have to like the answer. We have to see the match. But in sense correction, it's just pure elimination. Okay, perfect. So here we're almost finishing this lesson, modifiers. Okay, modifiers is a big lesson. It's an important lesson. We're almost finishing this. Next class, which is tomorrow, we'll finish modifiers, and we're going to go over the verbs. Okay. Now, the thing with modifiers is review it carefully because modifiers has almost, let's say, a little less than half of the whole theory for sentence correction, right? It's very omnipresent in all the other exercises. So just go careful with it. Make sure you have the basics regarding what the noun modifier can modify, whatever modifier can modify. Go and redo all the exercises here. Make sure that this is easy. So for tomorrow, because you don't have homework for tomorrow yet,
Okay.
okay? So you can review this whole lesson. This lesson is crucial. Is by far the most important lesson. So the more we can dominate it, the better we're gonna do.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna do for tomorrow, Josue.
Okay. Thank you, Rod.
Perfect. So I'll be talking to you tomorrow. Take care. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Bye bye.
Too. Bye.